Now this story comes out of Texas, Houston, Texas.
That this bishop, yes, a bishop, had been arrested and sentenced to prison. Reports from various publications, including the Christian Post, shed light on a disturbing case that unfolded in Houston, Texas. It involves a man accused of serial bigamy, a scheme that stretched across several states and targeted small black churches. This individual, masquerading as a pastor or bishop, operated under the guise of religious authority to carry out his deceitful acts. And what was his crime, you ask? He was arrested for marrying not one, not two, but a whopping 10 wives. 10! It's the kind of thing that makes you do a double take and wonder if you're reading a script for some outlandish soap opera.
How can I say this? So there's a guy, he calls himself a pastor, a man of God. He has 10 wives. He's been lying to everybody. Put it up full mass.
So let's take a moment to let that sink in. A bishop with 10 wives. It's a headline that's bound to raise eyebrows and spark heated debates.
Why be married to more than one person? Just talk to me for just a second, sir.
Before we dive into the juicy details of that video, let's take a quick moment to show some love. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. And hey, if you want to be in the know, ring that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Join the party in the comments section. We want to hear what you think. Let's get this conversation going, folks.
All right, thanks for clicking on the video. Now, this video is for educational purposes, and as I approach this topic with respect, I want you all to please, please, please be respectful in my comment section. Thanks.
It's truly disheartening to see how some individuals masquerading as pastors and bishops are willing to stoop to such despicable lows to fulfill their selfish desires. Money seems to be the driving force behind their deceitful actions, and they stop at nothing to achieve their wicked intentions. These false leaders prey on the trust and vulnerability of their followers, exploiting their faith for personal gain. They use the guise of religious authority to manipulate and deceive, all in pursuit of wealth and power. It's a betrayal of the highest order, not only to the individuals they deceive, but to the very essence of what faith and spirituality stand for.
This individual posed as a pastor. He would specifically target black churches and black women. Orlando Coleman, this is according to the allegation, a man accused of serial bigamy in Houston, who posed as a pastor. Sometimes he would pose as a bishop. Gave himself a promotion. He would go to small black churches around the country. He has now been sentenced to 3 years in prison after it was found that he, in fact, had at least 10 wives whom he married for financial gain.
Why be married to more than one person? Just talk to me for just a second, sir.
After a thorough investigation, the truth emerged. This man, 51-year-old Orlando Coleman, was sentenced to 3 years in prison after he was found to have had at least 10 wives whom he married for financial gain.
I just thought he was just a real man of God. That's the way he portrayed himself.
According to the report, Vanessa Goosen revealed to the New York Times that Orlando Coleman employed a disturbingly calculated approach in his deceptive scheme. By presenting himself as a Protestant pastor or bishop, Coleman exploited the trust and reverence typically associated with religious leaders. Once he had gained the confidence of his targets through this fraudulent portrayal, Coleman would then take his manipulation a step further by proposing marriage. This cunning tactic not only solidified his false identity as a member of the clergy, but also served to deepen the emotional and psychological investment of his victims. Not only did Orlando Coleman manipulate these women into marrying him by posing as a pastor or bishop, but once they said yes to his proposal, he'd move in and let them foot the bill for everything.
He always wanted me to buy him stuff, but I said I have bills.
That's the part. It was a manipulation from day one. So Vanessa Goosen, an assistant district attorney in Harris County, Texas, who prosecuted the 51-year-old Orlando Coleman, told the New York Times that investigators believe his first marriage in 2001, he traveled to states including Delaware, Texas, Kentucky, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, Iowa, North Carolina, Virginia, and others to find his victims after that, okay?
Vanessa Goosen, an assistant district attorney in Harris County, Texas, provided alarming insights into the case of 51-year-old Orlando Coleman, shedding light on the extent of his deceitful actions. According to Goosen, investigators uncovered a trail of deceit that spanned over 2 decades, with Coleman's first marriage believed to have taken place in 2001. What's even more disturbing is the revelation that Coleman's manipulation knew no bounds. He didn't confine his fraudulent activities to one location, but rather embarked on a calculated journey across multiple states in search of his victims. From Delaware to Texas, Kentucky, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, Iowa, North Carolina, Virginia, and others to find his victims. Coleman traversed the country, leaving a wake of shattered lives in his wake.
So there's this pattern, obviously, that this individual engaged in for a very long time. And if it had not been for Virginia and Houston, all right, the women in Virginia and Houston figured it out. There are some who have strong convictions about bigamy and marriage. That stuff, I could care less about that. I don't care what 2 consenting adults or 5 or 10 consenting adults do. It is his intent that is the highlight for me. He intended to engage in manipulation in order to financially benefit. But unfortunately, flexing ain't illegal. So his lies are not statutorily illegal. So they did get him on the bigamy because, well, there's not much more there. All of these things were done by agreement. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
Well, he is a trash bucket.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why. Those stats that you read make me very sad, and not just because I'm single, well under 40. I think she said 40%, and women in their 40s, I'm about 33 or so.
32.
But you got it, Doc. Birthday's coming up. Here's the thing. He preyed on these beautiful black women who just wanted families and to do it the right way, the godly way. And that's why he's a trash bucket. He didn't prey on white women, and I wouldn't wish that on them. He said, my sisters, come here. The women in the image of his mother, come here, and let me take you for what you got. Trash bucket.
Yep.
I mean, talk about taking advantage of someone's kindness and trust. It's like he saw these women as nothing more than his personal piggy banks, ready to fund his lifestyle while he sat back and enjoyed the ride. And all the while, he's probably preaching about love and righteousness like some kind of hypocrite. But you know what really gets me? The fact that these women were stuck in this situation, probably feeling trapped and powerless. It's heartbreaking to think about how someone could prey on another person's vulnerability like that.
The last wife that he was with, he said they had been divorced like 2-3 years. And that,
That wasn't true.
no, that wasn't true.
These women were just looking for love and companionship, like anyone else. All they wanted was to find a husband they could trust, someone who would love and support them, not someone who would exploit and manipulate them. But instead, they fell prey to Orlando Coleman's deceitful tactics. He dangled the promise of marriage like a carrot on a stick, preying on their genuine desire for connection and companionship. It's heartbreaking to think that someone could take advantage of such a basic human need for their own selfish gain.
Now, I'm going to give everyone a bit of information. Put up the picture full mass. Okay, you see the open face gold tooth? Those of you who are unaware of what this means, please understand the open face gold tooth sitting on the side and you're smiling on the side is the international I want to be a sugar daddy symbol. Now, this is the manipulation because he would create a fantasy world and then financially benefit himself over time, all right? Now, he would pay bills, etc., at times as well. In an interview with KPRC2, this was December 2021, one of the victims, who did not want to be identified, understandably so, said even though they never consummated their marriage, their relationship blossomed quickly. She said she got married within a month because she thought, quote, thought he was a real man of God, end quote. Quote, I just thought he was a real man of God, That's how he portrayed himself, she told KPRC2.
I just thought he was just a real man of God. That's the way he portrayed himself.
Pastor Coleman's scheme began falling apart in 2021 when he married 2 women 5 months apart. After he left a woman he married in Virginia, in 2021, he married another in Houston. According to court documents, Coleman's wife in Houston discovered he was receiving money from the woman in Virginia and contacted her. When she discovered they were both married to the same man, she contacted the Harris County Sheriff's Office and they investigated and filed bigamy charges against Coleman. In July 2023, Coleman pleaded guilty to bigamy, which is a felony in Texas. He was sentenced to 3 years probation and the chance to have his record cleared. 2 months after that, however, he was back to his con. Just 2 months after, he just could not repent. He married a woman in Kentucky while still married to the woman in Virginia. Prosecutors subsequently filed a motion to revoke Coleman's probation, and a judge agreed to impose the 3-year sentence on March 11th. I have serious doubts that 3 years behind bars will be enough to make this guy see the error of his ways. It feels like he's just going to keep on doing what he does best, and that's preying on unsuspecting women. And ladies, listen up. We've got to be extra cautious when it comes to those smooth-talking, holier-than-thou types who wear their religious titles like a shiny badge. Just because someone looks the part and talks a good game doesn't mean they've got our best interests at heart. You know, the Bible lays it out pretty clearly. A bishop or pastor should be committed to just one spouse. But it seems like in today's world, some pastors and churches have shifted their focus to money rather than spiritual guidance. And that's why characters like Coleman can slip under the radar in so many churches. Money has become the primary focus now.
But so many times as leaders, we give up because we're in a bound situation. Paul was locked up in chains, but he never gave up. He was excited to be in jail for the gospel's sake. He was excited to go through for the gospel's sake. He hadn't broken any law. He was in jail for the gospel's sake. And you're going to have to realize sometime you're going to be in a place of imprisonment, if only for a season, for the gospel's sake. This is the good news. And the good news is that the bad news is gone. All the glory, all of the honor, all of the praise, they belong to God.